Hello and welcome. This video is going to be a what sold video, and it's going to be what sold for me the week of April 8th to April 14th. I only have two platforms to share with you, Etsy and eBay, and we're going to start with Etsy first because it was my lowest performing platform, and then go over to eBay because eBay is my main bay. So the first item I have to share with you is this vintage windbreaker. This I purchased because look at it. It's just wild looking. Whenever I see something that has this kind of color blocking, I know it's gonna sell eventually. You all know that I really love selling vintage and saving it from the landfill. So I purchased this, I believe, for $5 at a thrift store, and it sold for $25, and the buyer paid for shipping. Moxie has decided to join us. Hello. Vintage can be really long tail, so I am perfectly happy to set it and forget it on Etsy, and I love Etsy. I love the fact that Etsy is set and forget it for me. This is another Eagle piece. The last what sold video I talked about that I bought a bunch of Eagle from the Air Force retirees house, and I paid less than $1 for this piece, and it sold for $12. If you don't know what Eagle is basically the European version of Columbia, and this individual was an Air Force retiree, so he had bought a lot of Eagle, and I didn't know what the brand was. I just picked it up because I was like, you know what? Everything's less than $1. It's all men's clothing. Men's clothing moves really well for me. I will just give it a try. And it's all eventually sold. And it's all eventually sold for good profit because, again, I paid less than $1 for it. So this was 90s Y2K era because of where and when it was made and the style of it. So really happy that this moved, and probably moved only because of the fact that it was vintage. So do not necessarily recommend picking up Eagle at the thrift store, but you know, if you're at the bins and you get it for less than $1, maybe. It sold eventually for me. The down puffer jackets I would definitely recommend getting if you can find them. So now we're gonna go over to eBay because eBay is my main bay, and this is something that is a win for Money Pile Monday, which I promise is coming back. But this is something I finally got around to listing this. I picked this up at an estate sale for like $4, I think, and it sold for my full asking price for $24.87. Again, it just took me actually getting it listed, and I didn't even care that it wasn't a perfect photograph. You see the little edge of my light box there on the side. I was like, eh. It's listed. But this was a nice large 4.5 quart stock pot. I pick up the Flint Echo whenever I can find it, and it all has sold for me, so this is amazing. This next item is a Beta brand piece. I have found Beta brand all of 3 times so far. The third time was recently, which is coming out in a hopefully recent future video. It'll come out soon. Hopefully it'll come out soon. It was a giant haul, so it might take a little while. I picked this up for Thriftmas, and it sold for my full asking price of $29.87, so I know why Reselling YouTube loves this brand. It's because this brand's great. I also love this brand now, and I wish, 1, I could find it in my size, and 2, I could find more of it. So, yep, really happy. Love Beta brand. Also love Judy Blue. I also don't find Judy Blue very often. I know about Judy Blue because I got it in my very first ThredUp Denim Rescue box, and it was the first pair of pants to sell out of that box. I don't know what it is with Judy Blue right now, but it is hot, and I found a vintage piece. This was made in the USA, and it was an acid wash piece, which was extra, like, awesome. And this sold lightning fast, sold for $19.44, and the buyer, of course, paid for shipping. So I thought this was awesome. I saw Judy Blue, and then I saw that it was a vintage Judy Blue, and I was like, oh, my heart. That's great. But I paid $4 for this at a thrift store. This is a Vince piece. This is 100% silk. I'm very picky when I pick up a Vince and Theory now because it doesn't really seem to sell unless it is made out of a really quality material and also cute. And this checked off both of that. It was 100% silk. Even though it was an extra small, it had this really nice pattern on it. So I picked it up and it sold despite being an extra small. I pick up all sizes. I pick up small men's sizes. I pick up small women's sizes. I pick up large women's sizes. I pick up large men's sizes. Everything sells. So it sold on offer on $20, and I believe I paid like $6 for this at a thrift store. This is a viewer sale. Nancy, who you guys see in the comments section quite frequently, which is very lovely, so thank you, Nancy, saw that I immediately listed this. I guess she follows my store and purchased it from me. This actually came from an estate sale. that this is probably one of the only things I've listed from that estate sale so far. Everything else is just sitting in a pile. But she paid $9.87 for this. I don't know, I probably paid like 50 cents for this at that estate sale because it was just like a pile of stuff and they're like, it's $20. I'm like, happily, here's $20. Thank you very much. So Nancy, she sent me a very lovely message about how she tries to buy an ornament from every place that she's lived. She basically lives near right field, so she picked this up for me and it was really sweet. I like that. I love that she sent like a little private personal message like to tell me why she bought it, and I'm glad that I can be a part of your Christmases now. That's really nice. I like that. So thank you, Nancy, and I hope you love it this year. So I bought this at the bins for 50 cents. It sold for my full asking price of $4.87. This is a Canterbury classic, so this is something that would have been sold at a bookstore. Sometimes it's Barnes & Noble, but most of the leather-bound classics at Barnes & Noble are the Barnes & Noble leather-bound classics, so this might have been sold at some place like Borders or Books A Million. Do either of those places still exist? I don't know. I think Barnes & Noble's the only one that's managed to survive so far. But it sold for my flash price of $4.87, so I definitely made my money back. This is an awesome piece. So I bought this at that estate sale that I got kicked out of because they apparently didn't like money. This sold on offer pretty much within 48 hours of me listing it for an offer of $26. This thing was so cool. I found this in a bin out in that shed, and I paid like basically less than $1 for this. It was this really cool like 80s purse that was like had big stars on it and some fringe. And it was denim and leather. It was a mixed media denim and leather bag. It was just really cool. I knew it was gonna go quickly, and it did, and it went to Texas, which I think that is perfect for this purse. This is also from that estate sale I got kicked out of. This is actually everything this is the bag that I put everything into in order to like carry it because it was pouring rain when I was, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll link that video up above. But it was basically pouring down rain and I was trying to keep stuff from getting wet because I was packing leather and silk and all kinds of stuff into this bag. And this bag sold immediately. It was literally, I just picked this bag up because it was a big duffel bag that I could put stuff in. Not thinking it really had that much value, but I figured if I threw it up it would sell. And the fact that this sold so quickly, I'm shocked at. And for my full price of $14.87, so this was great. You can see Karen putting in the work there, making it look good. So I think that maybe that's why it sold so fast, is it like looked good, because most of the other pictures I saw, they were just like laying it on the floor and it just looked like a sad potato sack. So I think maybe it was Karen. We're gonna give Karen credit for that. Karen is my mannequin, by the way, if you also did not know that. This next item, which I'm showing on the screen and not gonna attempt to pronounce, is something that I only know about from my friend Matt over at Thrift-A-Life. He has recently put out a guide for men's brands to pick up that either have a high ASP or a high sell-through, his Menswear Manifesto. Highly recommend that. And this is a tie. It's the only thing I found from this brand, which is this tie, and I do like buying and selling ties because they are normally very cheap at the thrift store. I will purchase them if I get them for $3 or less. They don't take up too much space, they're very lightweight, and you can't break them when you ship them. So this sold for $15 on offer, and I'm really happy about this. So I hope I will come across a suit and or a shirt or something else from this brand, but you know, if I only come across ties and I can get them for that cheap and they'll move that fast, I'm perfectly happy with that. If you've been here for a while, you know how much I love otakiri, you know how much I love buying and selling mugs. This is a vintage 70s otakiri mug and it's got a mushroom on it. I also will more than likely pick up anything vintage that has a mushroom on it that I find, due to the fact that everything that I've purchased so far that has had mushrooms on it immediately sells. Mushrooms are big right now. Everybody likes mushrooms. So when I bought this for $1, I knew it wasn't going to stay around very long, and it sold for my full asking price of $14.87. So I thought that this was amazing, and I'm so grateful for it. This next item is another book. This next item is another book I rescued from the bins. I paid 25 cents for this at the bins. This is just a 70s cookbook. I pick up most vintage cookbooks that I find at the bins that are in good shape. And I know bread making was like super popular during the pandemic, and there are people that are still enjoying it. So this sold for $3.25, and I'm perfectly happy with that, saving another vintage book from the landfill. This is another thank you for a viewer sale. This actually was purchased by Stephanie. Stephanie has purchased a few books from me. Thank you very much, Stephanie. This is a vintage Agatha Christie book made by Pan. Pan is a UK publisher, so it's always really exciting when I find any Pan books because it's rare here in the States to find them. I'm saving you for 25 cents, and Stephanie purchased this from me for $3.87. So Stephanie, thank you, and I hope you got around to reading it. This is actually an international sale. I found this set of 70s coasters for Thriftmas in Pocosin. I paid $3 or $4 for this set. I can't remember which one of those it was. But it sold for $12.50, and the buyer paid for shipping and then paid a din even more for shipping to ship it internationally. So I was actually really surprised that this was an international sale, but I hope somebody loved it. This is a pair of 90s jeans. I picked these up because bootcut and flare jeans are in right now. Even though the brand is not that great, I knew they were vintage and they were also heavily embroidered, so I figured I would give them a try for $4. And they sold for $12. So, and obviously you see the buyer liked them because they gave me positive feedback. So I'm really happy that these sold, and sold pretty quickly for me. Speaking of selling quickly, Chico's Travelers does amazing for me. It doesn't sell for very much, normally between the $12 and the $25 mark for me, but anytime I get Chico's Travelers, it travels. And this one sold lightning fast. I accepted an offer within like 48 hours of me listing it, so sold for $12.50, and yeah, I love Chico's Travelers. That's freaking awesome. Next item is a thank you to Carolyn and Ernie. Carolyn and Ernie gifted me a bunch of stuff for resale when they cleaned out their closets before moving. So this was 100% profit to me, and this is a pair of Gap Chino shorts. They're a linen blend. I may have still picked these up if I was out sourcing, like if I got them at the bins, because linen is one of my favorite things to sell. And it's a known brand, so if I got this for like $1 or less or at the bins, I probably would have bought this, but it sold for $7 and the buyer paid for shipping. Again, it's free to me, so I'm perfectly happy to do an easy listing. Thank you again, Carolyn Ernie, that's amazing. Another book that I picked up at the bins, this is a vintage copy of Catch Me If You Can, so this book came out before the movie did. And I just thought the cover was interesting. I'd never seen it before because I'm used to the Leonardo DiCaprio cover and the Tom Hanks cover. So this was really cool. Sold for $2.87. I paid $1.25 for it at the bins. So again, I really like saving vintage books from the trash. And speaking of, these are all free to me. This is 3 kind of like yearbooks. They're little photo directories. So it just like is the picture of people for each class. And somebody purchased all 3 of these, 1970, 1971, and 1972. They paid a total of $14.61 and then also paid for shipping. I was just throwing these up because they were going to go in a dumpster. I got to pick a hoarder house for free, and so I picked up a lot of ephemera out of that house, and most of it has sold by now. So I'm really happy that these didn't go in the dumpster, and hopefully they went off to a really good home that may have been wanting to reclaim stuff that they lost, like either in a move or in a fire, and they went there, or they're reselling them themselves. I don't know. Who knows? I just know that it didn't go in the landfill and I got money for them. So I'm really happy about that. This is a cute little thing. If you did not know, my grandmother is war bride, so my grandpa and her met during the American occupation of Japan. And as such, I exist. So whenever I see cute little Japanese knickknacks, I have a tendency to pick them up regardless of if it would be worth selling or not. I saw this cute little planter. I thought about using it for myself, but most of the stuff that I would plant, like this is a really good succulent planter, but it's not really good for anything else. So I ended up putting this up for sale. I paid $1 for this and it sold for $5. So I'm glad it went off to a new home. And then the last item I have to share with you, you can see I modeled it. This is a pair of silver jeans. I picked these up to try. I will not be picking them up again. Silver as a brand currently has about a 25% sell-through rate, so it's not for me. Even modeling all the pairs, they took forever to sell, like many months to sell, like basically the length of time it takes a lot of my vintage to sell. So I'm not really interested in that. I paid $6 for these at the Dav. in Williamsburg, and even my assets weren't enough to get them to sell faster. So they did sell for my full asking price of $19.87. The buyer paid pat a flat rate, so I still made a good profit. I'm just not interested in this anymore, so I probably will not be picking up any silver jeans in the near future. But that is everything. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, I am getting caught up because you guys are seeing more videos from me, so we're getting there. And I will hopefully see you guys again tomorrow. Till then, bye! Bye. This is a Mengbildo. Oh my god.